What? I do the welcome thing. Don't, Cody. I'm leaving this in right now. This is welcome to Opinion Havers. This is Tyler's trash show. I do the intro on that one, Cody. We've established it with the one episode we've done.
I regret
You have so much fire.
ever agreeing to do this.
Yes, you did, Cody. This is welcome to Opinion Havers, a podcast for Alan Rickman. It's better than yours. I guarantee it.
It's not.
Tell me
I had
yours.
A good one. Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for people who double fist combs.
Mine's better.
What is Alan Rickman?
Cody, I'll have you know.
I know. Okay.
Ben Mendelsohn was in this movie as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Alan Rickman.
Okay, they were both in Quigley Down Under in 1990. Alan Rickman played the sheriff in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in 1991. There you go.
So, is it no longer Kevin Bacon? Is it now the Alan Rickman game? Is that the new thing?
I mean, it all goes back to Dracula Untold, as we know. But I haven't traced it back. That's what I'll do that next time. I'll trace it back. What is it? How many degrees of bacon is there?
Is it 7 degrees?
7. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't
7
sure.
degrees of bacon.
I bet you I can find within 7 degrees every movie we watch for this show.
Dracula Untold?
Yes.
Okay, see, the problem with that is, the thing about Kevin Bacon, he's had a glowing career throughout all, really popular trash movies and then, Oscar-nominated movies, right?
Right.
Your boy, the director for Dracula Untold is a nobody.
Right.
The writer's a nobody. And the only, actor you would know is the guy from Game of Thrones who plays the vampire and Luke Evans are the only, actors. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying it couldn't be done. I'm sure it can. You're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to put in the time, put in the effort.
I mean, there is a cheat route, but I'll try not to use it. Because, Cody, what's easier, tying stuff to that movie, right? Or to stuff to the Marvel Universe?
The Marvel Universe is huge.
Exactly. And we have Howard Stark, who plays, I'll remind you, the Sultan. Cody, we haven't even said, what did we watch for this one?
Thank you for asking. We watched Robin Hood 2018.
Thank you.
The good one.
The good one.
Not that garbage one with Alan Rickman from the 90s. That one, who even remembers that one?
To be fair, that one's Robin Hood, full colon. Not the same, full. Boop, boop, two.
Yeah.
Prince of Thieves.
And this one's Robin Hood. It was a whole other ballgame.
Exactly.
A whole different genre of movie, essentially.
Yeah. I wanted to do that pause there to really showcase there's nothing after it. It's just Robin Hood. Cody, you want to summarize this movie for us? Explain it, if you can.
How do you even summarize the lore of Robin Hood? All right, let me try. You know Robin Hood as a tall, dashing man. Now, behold Robin Hood as an average-sized, dashing man. Taron Egerton plays Robin Hood, but not like you thought it was, because he's out on the Crusades. But then he came back, just like all the other ones, but things aren't good when he comes back. But it's not because of Prince John, it's just because the Sheriff of Nottingham. So, what are you going to do about that? Maybe it involves Jamie Foxx. Maybe it doesn't.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Yes.
So, Cody, what did you think?
Wow, you want to know my
your
first thoughts, my hot take on the movie?
Give me the first 2 inches of your take.
There is... That's most of the inches. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with the rest of the podcast? Okay, so here's my 2 inches. I liked 20% of this movie.
I'm surprised.
And that 20% is the bow fighting, I think. And for the rest of it, it was either fine or bad. And so it was kind of a tough one. The bow fighting was pretty fun. It was cool. It was kind of like, it was almost like if John Wick had a bow instead of guns. So that part of it was fun. And it had moments where I could see it putting his head above the water. I'm like, oh, hey, this could be something. And then it kind of just gets dunked down under. You know, when your older brother you're wrestling in the pool and it's all fun and games until you get held under the water. And he's like, well, I can't kill him. So I'll let his head up for about 2 seconds, and then I'll put his head back down. That's kind of what it was like. So, not my favorite. I would not say it's as strong of a movie as Dracula Untold on the scale of Tyler's trash. So, what were your thoughts?
This movie is one that I don't. So Dracula Untold, I like that movie. This one, I think this one is a fun movie. Every time I start it, I'm like, oh yeah, I like this one. And then I watch it, and then there's that first little bit, and I'm like, you know, you saw me with a huge grin on my face staring at you during the first bit of the movie. And then my wife put it well. She's like, as soon as you leave that first section of the movie, then it's time to start checking the watch every like few minutes. Be like, oh, we might be almost done with the movie. Oh, there's still like an hour and a half left.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, we're probably an hour in. Nope, we're 20 minutes into the movie. So yeah, I like it. I think I like it. I remember liking it, and then I started, and I'm like, oh, it's not great. But it's so good. It's so bad. I mean,
it makes so many bold statements and strong choices. You have to respect it for that, I guess.
Yeah. My favorite is there's a lot of political statements that people are like, yeah, I like that it made that, when it came out before those would have been political statements.
Yeah, yeah.
Specifically like this one. I think it suffered because of it coming out and then the Hong Kong protests starting right when it came out.
Sure, yeah.
Which made it seem like it was very sympathetic to the protesters, which made it do very poorly in China, which is who they were aiming the movie at.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
They were like,
you really have to hold hands with the Chinese government if you want to make sure your movie is successful in China.
So I'm sure they were like, no, we didn't mean it like that. It's not supposed to be the same thing.
And it's such a central part of the movie. It's not even like you can be like, let's just cut the movie different or like do a reshoot or two. You're like, nope,
this is your
wired
theme.
That in. So the whole last 40 minutes of the movie are all of that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Oh, and it's, yeah. Oh, man, yeah. I think that's why it suffered financially and was a enormous flop. I like how the first line of the Wikipedia, if you just see it in Google, just says $87 million. None of the other ones say their box office is the first thing. But it's like the first thing Google points you to with that. Like, yeah, the movie failed.
Yeah.
Made half of its money back, right?
Something.
Yeah. You have any other top level thoughts?
I think we really have to dive in deep to get
in there,
to get into it. So,
all right, you want to just hop on this cart with me? We'll have a high speed cart chase.
Oh yeah,
through the exploding mines.
Please.
All right. I mean, you know, we're there. You know,
Spoiler
Hampshire on Skishner. Mm-hmm. Why do they have on? No, that's a set. We've had this conversation so many times. Why are you going to say the name of a city on something, and that's part of the name of the city? It's like we live in Riverside on river.
Yeah,
Riverside. You know, it's like, why? Take out the on. Take out the Shire. Take out the ham. Now you have the name of a modern city. Pay attention, Europe.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts, Cody.
Remember Dimsdale?
The Dimsdale Dimmadome?
Yeah.
Doug Dimsdale, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Dimmadome. So, that's all I've got to say about that. All right. First off, this movie starts by offending me. It starts off, and I think it's Taron Egerton, or maybe it's just a narrator. I think it's Taron Egerton, but he's like, I could tell you the story of how it all happened.
It's Friar Tuck's the narrator.
Oh, Tim Minchin?
Yeah, it took me a couple watches to...
Here's the thing. All right, let's go on my Tim Minchin rant. Tim Minchin is a musical comedian, right? He does kind of stand-up comedy. He writes funny songs. Now he writes musicals, kind of like Hamilton, but instead of being rap musicals, they're just comedy musicals, like Matilda on Broadway. He's written some others. Anyway, Tim Minchin has a wonderful song about how the word ginger is a slur, and I love it. So look that up if you're interested in Friar Tuck singing a song on late night television for laughs. What was I saying? Anyway, he's the narrator, and he starts by saying, hey, I could tell you the true story of whatever happened, but you wouldn't listen. I was like, don't act like you know me. I hate you right now. You know, it offended me. I'm like, you could just tell me the story instead of saying like I would, but I won't because you wouldn't even. I'm here watching the movie. You're telling me I wouldn't pay attention? You tell me I wouldn't listen?
Yeah.
So what's that about?
But he did tell you the story.
I'm offended, okay?
He did.
I'm just saying it's offensive. Don't pretend. Yeah. I guess it's just don't pretend like you know me.
Yeah.
Tim Minchin doesn't know me. I know him, okay? It is the reverse. I know about 500% more information about Tim Minchin than Tim Minchin knows about me.
Right.
So why is he acting like he knows me?
He knows all and sees all.
Okay, I believe that.
Yeah.
That's true. So that was the first thing. The second thing is Taron Egerton, and there's a lady coming to steal a horse, and he's there too, and he's like, oh, what, you can't just take the look, they're going to come right by, you can't leave now. Anyway, let's make out. So then they make out, it turns out that's Marion. He's Robin of Locksley, they're in love. Oh, should we talk about Marion now? What happened there?
What?
Marion.
What?
Why was their budget $100 million and they went for like low rent Marion? You know, they were like, Marion's supposed to be the fairest maiden in all of Nottinghamshire. And instead she's like, oh, all right, that's fine.
Did you spot a more attractive female?
I'm pretty sure she was the only female, no?
They were
You're
some at the
telling
party.
me there's another female in the movie?
There were some at the party and in the crowd milling about.
Okay. Anyway, I just think they didn't do a great job. I did look at some of the other casting choices. One was like a Danish actress no one's ever heard of. The other was like a Norwegian actress no one's ever heard of. The other was like a black woman from England. And I was like, wait, that was your other that's the other thing about this movie. So many black villagers in Nottingham.
Yeah,
and
which you had a problem with.
I don't know. I just thought it was fun. I was like, what do you get? I know they weren't going for historically accurate.
Yeah,
it was just distracting. Like everything they chose to do that was like, we're going to just obviously ignore what was normal, which, hey, props for taking your shot because there's only been 50 Robin Hood movies. So you have to do something different, right? Anyway, it just takes me out of the movie so much because it's like, oh, hey, you know, I don't know, you might as well have had like a man named Paco with like a taco cart, like there. That's where it was at for me, which is fine. Anyway, I just thought that was a fun choice. It's the actress who plays Plumette in the live action Beauty and the Beast. So if you need a point of reference, that's who. The other thing is it Eve Dawson? Is that who plays Marion? Wasn't she like taller than Taron Egerton?
Don't ask me these things.
Wasn't she?
I don't know. I can honestly tell you I've not looked up the height of anyone.
Here's the thing. I noticed that Taron Egerton is not that tall, and so that's kind of how I went on this height thing. And because there's another scene where I think it's like Ben Mendelsohn is like as tall as Jamie Foxx or something. I'm like, that's not true even a little bit.
Okay, so Eve Hewson is 5'1", so I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say she's not.
They made Taron Egerton look so much shorter because Taron Egerton's 5'9", but didn't they look like really close in height? A lot of the movie.
Yeah, well, she may have just been wearing like heels or something.
Yeah, sure. Also, what was her deal? Because she was dressed in like fine linens the first time, but she was stealing a horse. What was her status?
My wife and I discussed this on the way home. Here's what I think. So, because I think I'm looking at all the movies, okay? All that I know about Robin Hood. The movies, the book, the story in general. And if I remember right, Robin is a noble. He's a lord, so he's the lowest of the real nobles, you know? Right? But he's a noble birth person.
He's like regional manager.
Yeah. And then I think she's like the step below him. So she's with the nobles, but not like noble blood. But her family was not poor, if I remember correct.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that, but I think she's like it's a thing that they're together, but it's not outrageous.
Okay, here's what I'll say about that. Here's what she had going for her. I do think she had period appropriate décolletage. Other than that, I was like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
That's all. So,
but yeah, I think she's a gold digger. We established that.
Yeah, we know that.
She latches on to the richest dude that'll have her.
Yeah, that's true.
And then as soon as Robin comes back, she's like, leave the other guy behind. He's dead. Mm-hmm. That comes up later in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, they make out, Robin and Marion, and he's like, go away, come back never, lol. I don't know why I wrote that line down because it sounded weird. Maybe the delivery was weird. I don't know what it was. But it was
just a dumb, immature thing to say, which I'm always like, that was dumb. And I'm like, well, he is supposed to be dumb and immature, to be fair, so I guess.
So anyway, the knock at the door, it turns out it's the sheriff. He's drafting people for the crusade. And he seals it with a little wax seal, Yeah. Let me talk to you about that. He breaks the wax seal.
Yes.
That's not how that works. Here's how I know this. Because I had a friend who had a wax seal.
Yeah.
And I received a letter or two with a wax seal. It peels right open.
Yeah.
So what's that about him breaking this? I don't know. It made me cringe a little bit. I don't know.
I've got ones that you have to break like that, though.
That's fine.
I think it's the type of wax you use. I don't know which one would be more period appropriate. I feel like the breaking one is more modern.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I know what they're going for. It made me cringe.
He broke the seal, Cody.
Yeah. Broke it. Snapped it.
Like the Apocalypse or the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, or a third one. So anyway, now we're in the Crusades and everyone is very dirty and dusty, all right? Which I can only handle so much of. The movies that go hard on making people appropriately dirty for their circumstance of war or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I want to take a shower and it takes me out of the movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, everyone's very dusty. And they start getting plummeted by arrows, and it's the troop, and they're going around. First off, actually the best thing about this movie was the arrow surround sound.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. I
don't think they phoned this movie in. I think they were just very solidly counting on the Chinese audience to dig it more than the American audience.
Right.
That's why I would have made Marion Chinese and speak Chinese as well.
Oh,
subtitles.
It could have been like a spaghetti western, where everyone speaks their own native tongue, and you just dub over depending on what language it's sent out in.
Subtitles only.
So Taron Egerton,
but he responds in English.
So Taron Egerton can understand Chinese, but doesn't ever speak Chinese in the movie.
Exactly.
But hold on, does Marion, who only speaks Chinese, does she understand the English? But never speaks English?
They understand each other's soul. It's kind of like when you see a young Hispanic person speaking to an old Hispanic person.
Yeah.
And one will be speaking Spanish and the other one speaks English.
Right.
And you can tell it's really upsetting the one speaking Spanish, which is always the old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The abuelita. Yeah, I've seen that. So, anyway, there's a Gatling gun.
Yeah.
But it's bow and arrow, and they do it.
I'll
just go for it.
So I will, because I don't know if I've explained this on the podcast. I've explained it to you when I first told you about this movie a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I guess probably 2 or 3 years ago now at this point.
Sure.
It is the epitome of someone's like, okay, I have an idea for a Robin Hood movie. It's going to be a returned soldier. He's going to have gone to Iraq. He's going to go back home. Yeah. There's going to be like this evil corporation that's stealing money, going to be given like a cool modern take on it. And then someone's like, cool, what if we put it in the Third Crusade instead, but change nothing about how how the characters act? So it's a bunch of guys.
Are we going to update the costumes? Not really.
No, not at all. They're all wearing desert camo and flak vests. That are like, oh, but they're tiled instead of, just the vest. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that's true. And they're wielding their bows, long bows, which would disfigure the people who use
like
them
80 to 100 pounds of pressure.
like you would be permanently disfigured
drive.
because your right shoulder and arm would be so much bigger that you would develop like a hunchback. Right? These guys who never went into a city, and they have these guys walking around with fully drawn longbows, which shout out to them having accurately sized longbows, which I feel like is a bold choice when you're doing close quarters combat.
Oh, yeah.
They all have swords at their hips, but they're using their bows as guns. There's, like you said,
Like
a turret.
Oh, yeah.
That is the crossbow. That they have to reload, so they get to say, he's reloading, and they do a flanking maneuver. All things that are very modern military tactics, as opposed to the...
Oh, yeah. I felt like I was watching American Sniper.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's exactly what it is.
American Sniper, you just swapped out Taron Egerton for Bradley Cooper.
Which, so, real quick, just because I want you to describe it, Cody.
Yeah.
This whole scene, though, because we can go back to some of it, but I want to know, what does it culminate in? Because I'll say the leader of the unit gives an order to one of the guys who shoots a very special arrow. Do you remember this?
No.
He says, signal the stone throwers, which they knew the word for catapult, but he called them stone throwers.
Oh, right.
I'm guessing because it translates better.
Sure.
Shot a signal arrow? A rocket, basically.
Yeah, I missed that.
A flare into the air.
Oh, yeah.
And then the catapults shoot on their position. And I was like, that's not how that works. You can't call an artillery strike in the Third Crusade. But that's what they did. They called an artillery strike in, Cody.
Oh, yeah. And I guess it's funny because in the beginning you're like, oh, what are they doing? Are they trying to capture a position, whatever? And then out of nowhere, it's like, yeah, there's 8,000 catapults on the outside of the city. Like, oh, that's right. I didn't know where we were. I just knew we were in like a dusty city.
Which, that was probably the most intense second and a half of the movie, was when it cut to the stone throwers. And they're like,
what's the scale of this fight? I thought it was like 6 British Crusaders. Like, nope.
It's the Crusader army attacking a city.
And it was funny, these stones, they come through, they'll blast a hole in the wall. And there's guys like 15 feet away from the hole in the wall. And they just go flying.
Yeah.
They just fall like as if... Because it's rocks. It's not explosives. But everybody was flopping left and right and like diving.
Yeah. Well, they even had that with because there's the second Gatling gun, the second crossbow, but it shoots a bunch of arrows at once. It's like a shotgun.
Like a scatter shot arrows.
Yeah. And because that's the one where it's got the 2 guys carrying it and then the third guy aiming it and fires it during the ambush, because they get ambushed.
I forgot about that, the scatter shot.
So that shoots the wall next to Edgerton, and he like flinches and flies away from it because they're penetrating into the rock and throwing rock in the air the way bullets do, not the way an arrow
from the rock walls.
So he gets thrown because like 3 arrows hit a wall next to him. It's like, this is not how it works, but I'm on board. Make this the rest of the movie. If you made a movie that was all the Crusades but shot like everyone had a gun and the catapults were like artillery, I would watch it.
It's like,
it'd be my new
have you seen those cuts where they take Harry Potter and then instead of the wand, they just put a gun in their hands? Oh, it's so good because it's like Hermione, and when she like stuns Neville in the first movie, they just have like the gun flash and then he falls over. It's so good. So yeah, so that's that. Here's what I put, and this is my summary of that whole scene: too much dirt and spit. There's spit flying everywhere. Everyone's way too dirty. I just felt very uncomfortable.
It felt like one of those like war movie nowadays.
Yeah.
In Iraq or Afghanistan.
It definitely did. Jamie Foxx is there. He's very good at fighting, but they lob off his hand. So then he's taken prisoner. I was trying to figure out his accent at this point in the movie. Does he have an accent? He does.
Yeah, so they reference him as he's a Moor, which I only remember the Moors as something, they were like North African Muslim, like Islam.
Okay.
Arabic Muslims or something. Yeah. So it's like I know they were a big thing in Spain. That's usually what I hear them tied to. I never really heard it for the Crusades that much, but I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like they always just called them Arabs there. You know, those Crusaders are a bunch of racists, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Moors consisted mostly of Berbers from Morocco, Western Algeria, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Northern Senegal, Western Mali, Arab, Bedouins, Yemen, and Syria. So
it's
pretty
northern.
wide area.
Yeah, so it's basically if you were from North Africa and a Muslim, I think they called you a Moor.
Yeah.
And because there was more of them.
Oh.
I don't know if that's why they call them that. Probably not.
No, that's
There's-
it.
There's
No,
two
that's it.
O's. Oh, all right.
That's it.
Nailed it. First try.
So, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Isn't this just the plot of The Last Crusader?
Let me counter that question with a question. What is The Last Crusader?
Isn't that the... I don't know if that's the right movie, but it's the one with what's-his-face and Morgan Freeman. And it's a crusader.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
No. I will look it up while you say your next point.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So they're going to kill Jamie Foxx's son. He's like, please, just a boy, don't do it. And then the guy is like, whatever, I'm going to do it. And then he does it. Yeah. Then Robin Hood tries to stop it, but then they send him home.
They shoot him.
They shoot him or something. They send him home. Jamie Foxx stows away on the ship. Robin Hood gets home and is like, everything's messed up.
Yeah, which I liked them shooting him with the arrow. Because, again, it goes back to more like... I feel like this was written originally to be set in, like, 2011.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like, if something like that happened and you wanted to send a guy home, you could, you know, shoot him in the side or something, and then just act like he got shot in combat.
Yeah.
In the Third Crusade, I feel like getting shot through the liver is a death sentence.
Based on the amount of dirt and saliva floating around, I would say yes.
Unless that packed the wound, Cody.
Oh, yeah.
It saved his life.
Sure.
Saved him.
So
Preserved
anyway,
him.
we get to meet Marion, and I don't know, my note there, she's out handing out food because she does something.
Yeah.
And I just wrote she got the droopy eyes. Yeah. But in fairness, Taron Egerton kind of does too. Like, just a little bit. And so I think maybe that's why they cast her, now that I'm thinking about it.
Because they look the same. They look like they could be brother and sister.
For droop, yeah. That's the dream couple there. Siblings, that's how you match them up.
Here's a problem while I'm looking up this movie, Cody. I'm not sure when it came out, and that's really slowing me down.
And it's also a problem to just look at Morgan Freeman's IMDb, because he's in like 6 movies a year. So that's going to be hard.
I mean, I got back to where it was going to be pretty quickly, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's not an insurmountable task. It's just going to take longer than I thought, so you're going to have to, you know, really tell me about this movie and how much you loved it.
Well, Jamie Foxx was like, hey, Taron Egerton, Robin Hood, whatever. I'm going to help you out. We're going to take down the man or whatever. I'll teach you what I know. I'll get revenge from my boy. And I'll get a metal stump. That was probably the other best pilot of the movie, is when Jamie Foxx crafts a metal stump to go on the end of his stump.
Last Nights. And it came out in 2015, not 1995 like I thought.
It's so hard with Morgan Freeman to place the year because he's been acting for so long.
Okay.
He's looked the same for the last 25 years.
Let me just read you the little blurb. A fallen warrior rises against a corrupt and sadistic ruler to avenge his dishonored master. But I'm pretty sure the guy that's the main dude, Clive Owen, you know Clive.
Yeah, he's in the movie.
And Morgan Freeman are a crusader and his Moorish best friend who he saved his life. And he's like, I like you. I'm going to teach you how to be a better fighter. Because Morgan Freeman, obviously the old guy, lived his whole life fighting against crusaders and knows how to fight better and stuff. And then they go on an adventure to take down the bad guy that's oppressing the hometown of Raiden. Not Robin, you fool. The thing is, the movies came out 3 years apart, and I feel like it's the same thing.
Doesn't Morgan Freeman play the Moor in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Yes, he does.
So what is happening? One of the fun facts was like, yeah, there was never a Moor in like the story of Robin Hood, but there was one in like one of the 80s ones, and then Prince of Thieves was like, oh, we got to throw one in there because that's part of it. And then they're like, that's not part of the history. Then historians were like, yeah, no, I don't think Robin Hood was even real, so whatever.
Oh, hold up now. Last Nights? Yeah. Definitely not where he plays a Moor. He plays like the master of the knights. So Morgan Freeman, I think, is the one who got disgraced.
So the name Morse comes from Morgan Freeman.
Exactly.
What you're saying.
But I don't know if he's a Moor. Let me go back to Prince of Thieves. Maybe I'm thinking of that movie, but I definitely don't think it was. I don't know, Cody. Here, I'm in the weeds now. What I am appalled at is that you did not write down or remember when they were in the city, your wife going, someone's running around.
Oh.
Someone's running around all over the place.
Yeah. Was that Jamie Foxx?
Yeah, it was Jamie Foxx flicking. Actually, it was a bunch of people, I think, because it was them prepping for the thing. But it was just like, she's like, somebody's running around. Like very accusatory. And I'm like, tell him.
No, she does.
You tell them. Tell them they're all going to die.
We're to the point in my notes where I make a note of the costume. Uh-huh. So let's talk about the costumes.
I dare you.
He's got... Robin Hood wears a blue tunicky suit, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's one of those things where it's like, it's supposed to look like a suit, but they don't have like the dress shirts and the ties, so instead it just kind of folds over like a little tunicky thing, but we're still going to make it look exactly like a suit. And I hate it, and here's what I learned. I learned the direction for the costumers was as follows. Make it 1/3 historic, 1/3 contemporary, and 1/3 futuristic. And that's the cocktail that created the costumes for this movie. My question to you is, why'd they do that?
Because I think, again, it goes back to, I think they looked very much like the movies on Netflix you see that are from Chinese. They're like the 7th in a Chinese film series. Mm. And it's like, what time period is this based on? Based on this picture. And it's like,
you could take a still and like, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's like, is it
still from the movie
year 5 or the year 5000? And it's like, it could be either one.
Yeah, I mean, so it was fine. Whatever.
All right, I take it all back. I think it was just Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves that I was thinking of.
Yes.
I'm a fool. But also Morgan Freeman is in a film from 2015 called The Last Knights, where they wear all black armor.
Yes. So, there's a bald priest in this movie that just has to go. He's like the main priest for the area, but he's not the cardinal.
He's the archdeacon.
He's got to go. What is that about?
I mean, he's definitely supposed to look sleazy because the church is often depicted
everyone
as
in the church so sleazy, and then Friar Tuck is like, I'm nice though.
Well, he's just a friar. He's just a good boy.
So what? I just don't understand how he could be associated with the church. They made it so sleazy, and then he's just there, and he's like, I'm fine. And they're like, ugh, Tuck.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you see the picture of all the cardinals in Rome, and you're like, I mean, half of you are Bond villains.
Yeah.
And then you meet your local pastor, and you're like, well, you're definitely not a child molester.
But that bald priest 100% was.
Definitely. He was an adult molester. He'd molested everybody.
Yeah.
Do you see his face? Do you see him laughing at the party?
Yeah. Yeah. I also wrote a note here. I respect the brash confidence of the costume designer. They just, they took the rule book and they threw it out and they made their own rules.
Yeah,
the rules were there are no rules. So
you could never say that they did not. Shoot their shot?
They shot their shot. They did it.
They did it.
They put themselves out there.
They missed, but they shot.
Like John Cusack in a duster holding a stereo over his head,
Yeah.
There. Lay it all out. Let it all hang out. So.
Here's the thing, Cody. Just as an aside here, my wife surprised me the other day. Yesterday? Day before? I don't know. A time. Because she doesn't watch rated R movies. That's a thing. It's her thing. She won't do it.
Yeah.
So I watch them and tell her about them. But she has seen the Once Upon a Deadpool once. And so we were like, oh, we'll watch that together.
Yeah.
Impossible to find streaming anywhere. You can't buy it. It's difficult to get, period.
Yeah.
She bought it. She found it. And she attained it.
Okay.
And we watched it. And there's just a moment where Deadpool does that to Colossus, and I laughed. I forgot about it because it's such a good scene.
He does what?
So he has his phone with a picture of a stereo, and it's playing the song. And the fact that Colossus rolls over and he's like, ugh, and I'm like, this is not the first time he's been outside his window doing this, and I love it.
Yeah,
it's in the real. It's in the the full Deadpool 2.
Yeah,
but it's in that one too, and I watched that one. So that's the one I'm referencing. Anyway, also, first time I've seen it, I love all the Fred Savage stuff.
Yeah, that is fun.
It's really funny.
It is really fun. So Deadpool 3's coming.
Yeah.
Got the green light.
But we're talking about a good movie, Cody.
All right. So then what? The whole thing is Robin Hood's going to get in with the Sheriff of Nottingham and, get in on that side while also stealing from him as Robin Hood, as the Hood, which isn't that also... No, the Red Hood. Is it the Red Hood? The
Red Hood's a thing from Batman.
Batman, that's what okay. It's not the Hood, it's Red Hood. Anyway... So, Sheriff of Nottingham was like, hate the priest. They used to whip me so good. I hated it. It was the worst.
You got some sexual vibes from that, right? Like, he was talking about being beaten, but it sounded like he was talking about getting molested.
He definitely did. He also talks about their breath smelling of boiled beef. And
that's too many B's in a sentence.
Yeah, no, it was.
Especially for Ben Mendelsohn.
Breath of boiled beef.
Can you do Ben Mendelsohn? It's like you grit your teeth. You kind of grit them. And then
you have to grit your teeth and also have a slight lisp.
You got to do this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you smell the boiled
beef.
Can't do it.
It's hard.
It's like his back teeth are touching, but his front teeth aren't, which I can't do.
Yeah. No, it's a little tricky. I love Ben Mendelsohn.
I love him.
He's pretty good in this. It's not my favorite role of his, though. I didn't think he nailed this as much as some of the other roles he's done.
I think he nailed I think he did exactly what they wanted him to do.
Yeah.
I don't think there was
no lack of effort, certainly.
Yeah, so I think he went 100%, nailed it. I don't think the character they gave him was a good one.
Yeah.
But see, the whole thing is, like I told you last time, the whole thing, right, is like you were saying, there's little peeking from just the mud and dirt and garbage that is this movie
sand.
Is little glimpses of they had something here, like with the cast and the cast, the Robin Hood story, and some of the things that they did with it, they really had something, and they really did a whole lot of nothing with it, which is so. I saw a lot of the reviews and stuff. They were like, I mean, you had like what at that time, when it was first announced, was everybody's like, that's perfect. Because Taron Egerton, he's pretty good. I like him. And he was coming right off of Kingsman. So everybody's like, perfect for... Because he can act sophisticated or not sophisticated off of Kingsman and everything. Yeah. And, you got... it's perfect. Perfect storm. Mm-hmm. And then this came out of it.
And it did.
And it did. And, this is what we got.
I've got a question for you. This is one of my notes that I don't know what it means now, that it's been 2 days since I watched the movie. Who is Will?
Will Scarlet? So, I would have asked the same question. Tiffany doesn't like this movie because she doesn't like what they did with, and I quote, my favorite character.
Okay.
It's her favorite character is Will Scarlet.
From Robin Hood?
From Robin Hood. Do you know who Will Scarlet is from Robin Hood?
Okay. I have two sources for Robin Hood knowledge. 60% is Robin Hood Men in Tights, and 40% is the cartoon Fox Disney Robin Hood. So,
which he's in neither of those.
All right, cool. What's Will Scarlet?
Here's what I need you to do. Get your little phone there. Type in Will Scarlet into Google and just look at that first image of him, because I believe that's the one that
Oh!
Is it the one where he's in a full red suit and red hat?
And he's black?
What is that? Let me see it there. Point.
Hold up. I think this is from Star Trek. Is there a Star Trek Robin Hood episode?
Okay, so that's Worf, I believe. Yes, that is Worf from...
Okay. There's another guy. Okay, there's this goofy little guy.
Yeah.
It's a man wearing scarlet robes. Here's a big, more of a realistic...
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be from Prince of Thieves or something. But yeah, so he's a prominent member of the Robin Hood's Merry Men. He's in the original story and everything a lot, but he's never in any of the movies.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just a dude commonly portrayed as someone who betrays Robin Hood.
Oh.
Tiffany loves him. He's in Once Upon a Time. I like his character in Once Upon a Time because he's just kind of like there, and he's very he's just a cool guy, right? I like him. Anyway, the point is, nobody's gonna know who this is, and they don't.
Yeah.
He's also always either a current or former member of the Merry Men. He is never just the other guy that married Mary and has slept with.
So in this
a political leader.
That's who he is.
Yes.
Okay.
That's his name.
Okay,
He's
so
Will
now I
Scarlet.
know what my question was.
Okay.
What is he? Like, what does he do? What's his
He's a
job?
politician.
I know that Marion gives out soup. And he seems to help. What does he do?
So this is what I think. I think Marion's family is wealthy.
Okay.
Right? That's why they have the money to do that stuff. And why he's able to be looked to. I joke that she's a gold digger, but I think she is kind of the source of their influence, really there. But he's a politician, Cody. He's the voice
looks like
of
a
the people.
grubby peasant, is my thing.
But he's there. He's worked for years.
So he's played by Jamie Dornan, he's most known as Christian Grey in the 50 Shades of Grey. And he's supposed to be like a major daddy, right? Is that right?
Well, so the movie I know him from the most is
No, wait, that's a different guy.
it's a different guy.
No, that is him.
Is it him?
He's Christian Grey.
He has
I don't know
two-
why it's not in his top 4 IMDb.
No one watches those movies. Is the Siege of Jadotville up there?
His top 4 are The Fall, A Private War, Anthropoid,
Yeah.
and Marie Antoinette.
I first saw him in the Siege of Jadotville, which is a Netflix movie about some Irish soldiers.
Oh yeah, I recognize that
It's
cover.
so good, and he's so good in that. And then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, he's Gray," and I'm like, "Oh gosh."
Yeah. So yeah, he's supposed to be like a major daddy, according to the women in my life.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it for me at all in this movie. I'm just like, his character's bad, his haircut's bad, everything about him's pretty
He
bad.
looks like a different person in those movies.
He really does. I mean, when you look at just like his picture, he's very different. So anyway,
Yeah. I just know that there's a point where a girl comes in and she's going to kill him and his current sex slave, the person who's in the books, the 50.
Oh, yeah.
The 50th shade.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he just goes, "Stop," and like force pushes her down, like with his mind powers over her.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Oh, it's like the relation." I'm like, no, it's just a guy went, "Stop." I've hit you before. I'll do it again. Yeah. And she went, "Okay." That's what happened. But everybody's like, "Oh, the tension." I'm like, I mean, he's an abusive person in both movies.
Yeah, he is. Apparently. I've heard. I don't know. Okay. So anyway, Robin Hood's doing his raiding and stuff, and that's great. He goes to hit the big bank, all right? He rides on the bottom of a cart. They got all kinds of technology. The cart goes up the thingy. There's like 2 big strong men that like turn a wheel that rotates up. It was very elaborate. Seemed very expensive. And here's my thing about that whole scene. All the guards and stuff, did they or did they not look like the war boys from Mad Max Fury Road? Remember all the bald-headed war boys that run around and drive the cars? That's what they all look like.
Wait.
Search your feelings.
So you're okay.
The guards for the big vault, the big bald boys,
yes.
all those people. They just look like war boys.
I was thinking of
they
the
had all the
guards with the
machinery and the gears and everything too.
thinking of the guards with the masks. I'm like, what? But yeah, I got you. Yeah, the guys inside the money counters.
Yeah, that's exact. I was just like, this is.
Why were they all wearing like Dobby pillowcase rags? Like, like what was that
They're
about?
war boys, all right?
Why did they have why were their feet and hands wrapped? Why weren't they just wearing shoes and gloves? Here's the thing. They were dressed period appropriate for their job, but nobody else was. So it looks weird and shocking.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, you're going to have a scene where people are partying with a roulette table, and then you're going to have these guys be period appropriate whilst they're hoisting, which, okay, I understand they had the technology to hoist that cart into the vault, and it would be a security thing and all that. What I'm saying is nobody ever did that back then.
Yeah.
So it's like, that seems like 10,000% more effort than is necessary for this right now.
And I know, just the whole thing is like, we need money. We need money for the troops. So we're going to subjugate all the people. You're going to be super poor, give us all the money. But it seemed like all their money just went into building dope vaults. And like having a big, you're like, where's this money even go? Like, even if I was a peasant, I'd be like, yeah, you guys aren't spending any money on the war. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't know. I'm just surprised the revolt didn't happen sooner. And then, okay, so the hood it's a movement. It's going on. People are nailing up random hoods to the wall as like a, like in V for Vendetta with the masks and stuff, whatever. Mm-hmm. Here's my thing. One of those youths running around doing that was straight up just wearing a purple hoodie.
Yeah.
What was that?
I noticed.
They made so many choices on costumes, and then they just threw one kid in a purple hoodie.
Look, you're out here expecting stuff from this.
I read that like 95% of the costumes were handmade. The one that wasn't, purple hoodie. They went to the Nike store, they bought a hoodie, and they gave it to this boy and said, run around here. You're in this scene.
Yeah.
What's that about? Thank you.
It's supposed to be a statement, Cody.
Okay. There was a sick burn in this movie. Oh, I think it was Ben Mendelsohn was insulting Tim Minchin's character, Friar Tuck. So it's Sheriff of Nottingham to Friar Tuck, and he said something. Ben Mendelsohn like, how can you love a god that gave you that face? It's like, oh. It's a sick burn.
Yeah. It was when they were having the weird interaction with the archdeacon, and they both laugh, and then he goes, Sheriff, and like screams at him, and they're like, oh gosh, yes.
Yeah. So, that was a fun burn.
Yeah.
A couple scenes later, they got their security going, and there's some ginormous Dobermans. Where did that come from? Who has Dobermans? Where are Dobermans from? Are they German?
I mean, let's think about the word Doberman and think of a language. I think they're definitely not Greek.
Whoa! Okay, hold up. I Googled
Greek?
it. A couple things. All right. Originally made in the 1890s by a German tax collector whose last name was Doberman in, that's right, Germany. What's more important, if you Google Doberman, there's a little graphic of a Doberman walking around and it says, meet a real-sized Doberman. View in 3D. I'm going to click it right now. And I'm just, oh, look at him. He's a good boy.
It is.
It's like remember Sims?
Yeah.
Oh, he barked. I can view it in my space.
Yeah.
So let me just give access here.
Do it.
Yep.
Do it.
Yep.
Fool.
I just need, I'm scanning around the room. I was like, Doberman's going to pop up here. Oh, he's at the door. What? Oh. Anyway, it's very big. His head's like above the door handle.
Nice.
What a good boy. So anyway, a dog from the 1900s is in this movie, which makes me just happy. What's up? What? Something I said or something you read?
Something
What?
I figured out here.
Tell me.
I've succeeded in what I was wanting to do. Okay. Let me take you on a journey here real quick here, Cody.
Yeah.
We have this film. Cody, who, because we haven't said his name at all this whole thing. Who plays the Sheriff of Nottingham?
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn, as we all know, played Orson Krennic in Rogue One. All right, are you with me?
Yeah.
He starred alongside Alan Tudyk, who was K2SO. All right?
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk, are you counting with me here?
Where are we at? Is this 3?
Ben
Mendelsohn's in this movie.
He's in this movie and
Who's in Rogue One with Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk is in, and now we're on the third one.
Alan Tudyk is in A Knight's Tale, where he plays, I didn't look at his character's name. Something. Watt.
Jeffrey Chaucer, right?
Watt.
Oh.
Which he stars alongside, are you counting with me?
Yeah.
Mark Addy. Okay? Mark Addy plays Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Oh, gosh.
Where he stars alongside, what's his name? Gosh, he's so far down on the list, you know? Why is he this far down on the list of people? Charles Dance.
Yep.
Who is Master Vampire in
Dracula Untold. You did it.
You counted the first thing. You counted the movie we started at as a step.
That's a degree.
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I'll tell you this right now.
What?
There were other ways to get there, but they were not convoluted enough. It was too few steps.
Ugh. Make it so hard on yourself. Okay, so you did it. You proved your point.
Yeah.
Here's my point. Bailey pointed this out. When we get around to the roulette scene where there's a giant festival, I forget why or for what purpose.
Because the Cardinals coming to town.
The Cardinals come to town, so there's a big lavish festival.
Yeah.
The costumes, like just like that. What's that movie? Mockingjay? I was like, oh, The Hunger Games. Like, yep.
Yeah.
That is when the costumes go from, whatever they want to just like, this is the Hunger Games / a masquerade / we're here.
Yeah.
They're playing roulette. They're playing all sorts of games. They're probably doing all kinds of drugs and drinking and merriment. The priests are like, have all these women on their sides, which is like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, the archdeacon is covered in women.
It's fine that happens because that happens sometimes, right? People are in power. They don't follow their standards, whatever. But why are you going to invite a gaggle of peasants? You're like, and I don't know, 6 commoners, you guys can come too and witness all of this. What is the thought process there? Why on earth would you have peasants come and watch the archdeacon whore around with a bunch of random... Where did those people come from either? Because it seems like there's there's the sheriff, there's a small court of people, the church people, and the poor peasants. And then all of a sudden we get a party with like 800 rich people.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there was that long line of rich people at the church putting money in, And they were all like dropping the 1 coin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
I do have a friend. I do know a guy once, right? He was Catholic, and he said he loved when they did the communion, he would bring a little sack of quarters. And he would do like $5, but he would just like... so it was real loud and like... He's like, I love it. I think he said, he's like, it's the same energy as his dad would sometimes put like $100 on the plate. And he's like, same energy, but I don't spend $5.
It's like when you're a kid and you go to the Nickelcade. Yeah. You're like, I am a king here.
Yeah.
I rule over this kingdom.
Yeah.
All right. So whatever. Ben Mendelsohn's like, we got to hire some big wigs to come in here and take care of Robin Hood. It's Robin Hood's original commander who's executing people, whose name is... Gisbold. No, wait. Gingborn. No, wait. Grindelwald. No, wait. Gingham. No, wait. I couldn't... Every time they said his name, I was like, that's not what they said the last time. What is his name?
Yeah.
What was his name? Tell me right now. Gisborne. Is that canonical Robin Hood lore?
I have no idea.
Gisborne? Might as well have been Gizmo. It might as well have been the little furry thing from Gremlins, right? Like
his name is...
What is that name? Like, John, Robin, Miriam, Gisborne.
So what his credit is, if I scroll over to it, right? Guy of Gisborne, that's his name. So his name is Guy. But he's just like Robin of Locksley.
I wrote down the name like 4 different times, and I never got it right. I just want to point that out.
This is the thing. They named him the way a lord's named, I think, right? So because there's Robin of Locksley. He is the Lord of Locksley.
So he's Guy of Gisborne.
So he's the Lord of Gisborne.
His name is Guy, which has to be the least creative name of all time.
Well, they never call him Guy.
I'm just saying, if your name is Guy, what were your parents like? Come on. Exactly. Guy. Like, what should we call him? He's a guy, right? I'm like, yep. That's it.
But he refers to Robin like, Lord, which they just copied the attitude. Someone's like, I watched the first season of Game of Thrones, and when Jon Snow comes up, they're like, they call him Lord, but they say it like with a real, like a little sneer. Let's have him do the same thing to Locksley. Oh, you mean Robin Hood? Yeah. But then we're going to call him Locksley. Because that's the thing. That's his last name. And they're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
But no one said that. There was no one there to be the no, it's not,
Yeah.
So Gisborne, who looks nothing like he does. It's like it's a different actor when they're in the desert.
And then they're like... he's so dirty?
But he
There's
has
so much
different
spit.
facial hair, different clothes, different everything.
It really undercuts on the entrance because a good movie when a villain re-enters like has been gone for an hour, you're like, oh no, it's that guy. This one I was like, have I seen him before? And then it takes you a minute, and then by the time you figure out who it is, you're like, the impact is lost. You're like, oh right, it's Guy.
Yeah.
It's a guy. Yeah.
Because so they're in the desert. His hair's short. He has like a mustache or something, and then he shows up and he's like the full. What's it called?
It's not a hand. It's the handlebar that connects to like the mutton chops, like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Like the guy from Call of Duty, which I thought he was because he looks and sounds like him. He's not the guy from Call of Duty.
Sure. Yeah.
He just has the exact same hair, and he's British. He has longer hair, more facial hair, and he's wearing black clothes with guys that I don't think were the same as the Crusaders. They may have been, but I usually am the one telling you you're dumb. Of course they're the same. I don't know. So that tells you something.
They looked way bigger because the guys he was leading in the Crusades, they looked like little scrawny boys.
They all looked real strong.
And then all of a sudden, whoever he's with, when they're all in black and coming in to take care of Robin Hood, they're all huge. So, I don't know.
So
they look like Resident Evil mini bosses.
Yeah.
That's what they look like. Like he should have torn off his cloak and he had like a parasite throbbing in his chest and he has a third arm or something.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. I was waiting for that reveal. Never paid off.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. But he wasn't wearing a black turtleneck, so.
you mentioned earlier, there's some chariot chase scenes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of this because there's a point where someone drives a horse and carriage through a wall.
Oh, flimsy
Through
wall.
a wooden wall, and it blew me. It's one of those things where you're like, it's totally modern of like a car driving through a fence,
Yeah.
or a semi truck driving through a pile of bricks, or cinder blocks or something. Where you're like, with enough force, it's big enough. Nobody's training horses to crash through a wall. That is not how that works. All right.
Now, I know for a fact that like war horses were bred to be huge and to not stop unless your rider tells you to stop because they run people down. Which you see very well displayed in the third Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah.
When they do the charge. And they're like, this is what it looked like. And they're like, got the side view. And then they hit. And it just like, it's like people get sucked under the horse.
Yeah.
But if they hit a wall, even if it's flimsy, they're going to slow down a little bit, right? And it's going to...
The thing about running over a man is that a horse can be taller than a man, right?
Right.
So you're going to topple over it. Now, running through a wall...
But if it's flimsy wall. But wouldn't it slow down? They'd get hit.
What does the horse do? Is it like a bull where it lowers its head? Or like a ram? Or...
I think...
Because it looked like the horse just went like face up like through the... I don't...
Yeah.
Because you have to have a good point of leverage to break through the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like a ram, how it lowers its horns, or a bull. But are horses made to do that?
No.
Headbutt through the wall? Because they didn't do that. They showed them going like hooves first through the wall. I don't know.
They scratched together with the hooves. I mean, in honesty, I think it's because it
Just
was
like in Lord of the Rings when the
cart.
horse like kick punches the guy into the fire. Okay, okay, maybe you convinced me. I don't know. It was so outlandish.
I mean, what my guess is that it was a cart or a car of some kind, and then they just were like, "We'll add the horses in later."
Yeah, of course. I know for a fact that they didn't have a horse actually do that. Bailey was so upset when they shot any of the horses with arrows. I'm like, they're CG. It's okay. It'll be okay.
Oh no, those are real horses. This is a Chinese movie.
They just sacrificed for the movie.
They just killed. It's like what was the James Bond where they just killed a ton of sharks?
Yeah. Oh, that was awful.
Like all the sharks that got shot with the harpoons are real sharks.
So terrible.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. So the citizens are going to revolt or something.
Real
Whatever.
quick about your horses thing, though.
Tell
They're
me.
like, he's like, shoot his horse. Fair thing, right? When Robin Hood's on a horse and they're going through the rickety village.
Yeah.
They shoot at it. They're missing because obviously they're stormtroopers with their little assault rifle crossbows. Anyway, beside the point, they shoot the horse once with a tiny bolt in the butt. And the horse dies. And I'm like, I don't think you guys know how much it takes to kill a horse. It takes like a shotgun to the head nowadays, or a
Yeah,
needle,
nowadays, yeah.
or like an injection of poison. Back then, you would have to have speared it or shot it with so many. Point is, Cody, the horse died with one arrow to the butt.
That's how it goes. Those are extra strong Gatling arrows, so you gotta consider. Okay, they're blowing chunks through walls, and people are falling down from the force of these arrows, being near the force of the arrows. So you
Speaking
can
of their
imagine.
crossbows, when he does his first takedown of the toll bridge, which at least once someone says troll bridge, definitely.
Oh, you're telling me there wasn't a troll under that bridge? That is part of the canon of this movie.
They were
sir.
also very vague on where the bridge was, because they're like the bridge.
Oh my gosh.
But then there's this part here, and then there's like a bridge going over where they are, but they're collecting at both spots. But then there's the city gate is right there, but they're going into the city. What is this a bridge to? And where is this bridge? Anyway, he's fighting. It's dark. He kills a bunch of guys real quick because he's holding the arrows and firing them in the same hand.
Yeah.
A guard tries to shoot him. He's face to face with their little compact assault crossbow, and he disassembles it like John Wick.
I loved that.
Oh
That
my
was so
gosh.
great. Oh man.
What? Their crossbows just in general were they made to look like those little assault rifles that like
Oh yeah.
guards have in action movies.
Like one of those semi-collapsible M16s with like, the buttstock that folds in, like something like that.
Yeah. Did you know that with the arrows, with the shooting, the archery, and I think and pretty much all the bow stuff, they brought in a guy who has a YouTube channel.
Oh, Lars Anderson.
Yeah.
That's his name. Yeah. But I think they call him like the modern day Legolas or something.
Yeah.
He studied all the old bow techniques, and he's just like, yeah, people don't fire, up by their cheek, or, like ancient techniques are like people firing from their chest and firing quickly in close range, and that's his whole thing.
Yeah, where
and
it's
he's
like
really good at it.
Getting arrow. Yeah, like
He can jump and fire 3 arrows before like hitting the ground and stuff. Like,
so that's why all the bow stuff was really cool, because he's the one that can he has an arrow in between each of his fingers and he fires them individually.
yeah.
And does all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, that stuff was so cool.
That was
and then
cool.
they're like, all right, how do we counter? I mean, crossbow guns. I just imagine this guy who has dedicated most of his life to studying the history of archery and being like, this is how they really did it and how cool these guys were. Being like, I don't know if I want my name. I imagine I wonder if he wanted his name associated with the movie.
Yeah. So, it's a good time. Ben Mendelsohn has a little speech. He says this. Even with I'm going to say what he said, dispute it, and then tell you his caveat and say that's still wrong. He was like, humans are the only species that fear death. Wild claim. His caveat is like the finality of it. I'm like, I still think all species of animals are hardwired to be afraid of death and do everything they can to avoid dying. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
His speech was dumb, is what I'm saying. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
He didn't write it.
Because I know what they're going for. Because there is a psychological test thing that they do for but it's...
Animals don't think of death the same as humans. Or humans my lifespan is going to be 80 years and I'm already past the halfway point and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So it is that humans are afraid of death ending their life, whereas everyone else is... It's like you are afraid of it, not instinctually afraid of it. Mm-hmm. But it's like you can be afraid of it, or some people, I guess...
I'm just saying, I don't think they did a good enough job on that speech.
Yeah. It's
the
like...
only species who fear
different.
death. The finality of it. I'm like, it's...
What if you just change it to where humans are the only species that fear the finality of death? Just wording it like that makes it
maybe
better, I think.
Maybe humans are the only species that contemplate and fear death.
You've used too big of a word immediately.
Anyway, I just thought it was I was like, not quite. No. Yeah. Here's another point about this movie. For as many of the 2 things they did right, here's where I think they ran into issues. 2 things. Number 1, it's hard to hire a TV director to do a movie. It's a very different game.
Yeah.
Being a TV. There are some TV directors who's like, I'm directing a whole season of TV. But a lot of TV directors are like, hey, can you do this 3-episode arc? hey, can you pick up this one episode? Can you do...
Yeah.
The director, this is his only movie credit.
Yeah.
Kind of. He's directed some decent stuff, some good shows, but it's his only movie credit.
Yeah,
that can be hard.
You're right.
But I think the harder thing is the writer's first project.
Oof.
Both of them.
Oh.
One of them only has this credit. The other one has like 2 more coming down the pipeline. Writer's first project. You're getting a TV director, first time movie directing. I'm surprised they didn't try to get more experience directing under the tables here somewhere.
Yeah. I wonder if it was kind of... Because I feel like this came out in 2018, right? So, yeah. So it seemed like that was a real popular time to be like, yeah, let's roll the dice on these unknown people. Because it was working out.
Kind of like how Dracula Untold was, right? It was like
But Dracula Untold made a lot of money. That's the big difference. It made its money back and its marketing.
You already made your point about the marketing issue with this movie, where it was untimely.
Yeah. So that's what it made its money, and it did have some people, I think, associated with it, didn't it? On like the writing or something, who it wasn't their first thing.
On Dracula Untold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely had more experience on the
writing. So because that's the thing is, I wonder if this one wasn't like, this is the first the first time this person's script got bought, and they're like, all right, you're the writer. Whereas on some other projects, it might be like, all right, you are one of the writers. We're also going to bring in like these 3 other guys.
Yeah.
Who have done movies like this.
Yeah.
And a director who's done a movie like this before, so they can kind of make sure it goes the way it should, not the way you want it to.
Right.
Because like Ben Mendelsohn's speech about the canes and stuff, he nailed the speech, but the speech was way too long and weird and sexual.
Breath of boiled beef.
Yeah. It's like his voice wasn't good for that because there's too many bees.
Boiled beef.
Is there
it's too distracting from the rest of the speech,
Yeah.
You're talking about getting beat and probably molested, but on the same thing, I'm trying to piece together what boiled beef is,
I mean, it's in England, they boil everything. And then they complain about how every other country has terrible food. When I feel like as a world society, as a globe, we can unite on one thing.
England
has bad food.
Yeah. I mean, their best stuff is like shepherd's pie, which you're like, that's not that shepherd's pie is good, but it's just like, oh, ground meat, some vegetables and potatoes, mashed potatoes. That's your A game. And 2, everyone likes fish and chips.
But
that's about it, right? Is that the peak?
One of them,
is that the peak of British food?
If you make either one of them off of a British recipe, it's like, this tastes like nothing. It tastes like I'm eating paste. So I saw recently someone put up a thing. It's like it's like England went and conquered the world to try all the spices and then decided they don't like any of them.
Yeah.
And someone's like, you're joking, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Except for curry, which they love.
That's true. But even then, I would argue like the British curries are not as good as like the more traditional Indian or Pakistani curries. Like, what's the British one? Is it tikka masala that's British, or is it butter chicken? I forget.
Butter chicken.
Is it butter chicken?
I think tikka.
I think it might be tikka masala.
Is it? Because butter chicken isn't as flavorful.
Those are the 2 whitest curries. I know that because I had an Indian friend that taught me how to cook some things. Anyway, here's what I'm saying. Rogan Josh.
Wait.
Is like a way better version of that.
Oh.
Is what I'm saying. I'm saying there are like dishes more made by Indian or Pakistani people that's way better than like the white British versions of that curry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I thought you were going back to the thing we were supposed to be talking about, and I wanted to share an update with you because the people want to know.
Yeah.
You gave me spices, Cody. A bag full of spices.
Yeah.
They included MSG.
Yes.
Which is funny to me that you had a bag of MSG because nobody ever buys that except for Chinese restaurants, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Some fancy Indian spices for curry.
Deji merch.
Yeah. And other things. And I jokingly gave my mom the MSG. She didn't even want to touch the bag. It's very bad for you.
What?
It's very bad for you.
I highly disagree with that statement.
I mean, it is scientifically it is bad for you.
Is it
but
any
it's
worse
not.
for you than salt? Than too much salt?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You're wrong about that. There's a stigma against MSG, and it needs to be removed.
No, everything has MSG in it, Cody.
It's so prevalent
Yeah.
in so many cuisines, and it's like, what, we're going to eat it all the time but never acknowledge what it... In the States, it's like we use it for everything, like you said. It's in all these recipes. All processed foods have it. Why can't I cook with it at home? You know, why do we eat so much of it and then say, oh, it's bad for you, you can't cook with it? Like,
well, I mean, I'm also thinking like most of the artificial sweeteners are also just as bad for you. But I still drink a Red Bull.
Okay, you got your natural people that are like, you should only ever eat natural foods. And then you got people who are like, it's like the saturated fat people where it's like, oh, only natural fats like butters. And then other people are like, butter's going to kill you. You got to eat margarine. And then butter people are like, margarine is plastic and it's going to kill you. But it's like both sides. This is my problem with nutrition. It's always changing. People are always trying to learn, and there's always fad diets. And so I feel like the science of nutrition is like dietitians are never all on the same page. It drives me crazy.
Well, the problem is you have people that go like doctors that studied nutrition mixed in with like the soccer mom that read a study once, and they're both nutritionists, Cody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's your biggest problem right there. The bigger thing is, let me stop you right now, and we'll say, if you have the choice of margarine or butter, why are you using margarine?
Okay.
Butter tastes better. Throw everything else out the window.
There's
it
two
tastes
reasons.
better.
If you fall on the natural saturated fats are bad for you.
No.
And then number
Throwing
two
that out.
is so cheap. Margarine is like a tenth the price of butter. Okay. I don't use margarine. I'm
Think
not a margarine
about the
boy.
quality of your life. I'm not talking about your health. I'm talking about your taste buds.
Okay.
You telling me you take a steak and you cook it in butter. Everyone's going to say, what did you do to this steak? Mm-hmm. And you're going to look at them and say, butter.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, oh, I don't eat butter. And then you kill them. They don't need to be in society anymore. Okay.
So then what's the problem with MSG?
It's just bad for you. And I think it's funny that you had a whole thing of it just because the only other person I've ever heard buying bags of MSG is my grandma in the 80s. That's the only other person I've ever heard to it.
There's a stigma against it. And I think it needs to be removed.
Now, if I was making Chinese food and it called for it, I would probably buy it. But
that's what I use. Anytime I make Asian food, I usually use MSG. But I know people that use it in like all their cooking. It's just an umami booster.
I want to just snort it.
It just boosts umami flavor.
Yeah.
And so why not harness its power?
Yeah.
You look at it and say, I'm afraid of it. You look at the One Ring and you say, no, I should not touch it. And I look at it and say, I can use this for good.
You can sprinkle it on anything and it'll taste good. You could sprinkle it on this movie and it would be good, Cody.
How are they going to market a movie to Asia and not put MSG in it? That's my thing. That's where they failed.
Exactly.
They're talking about boiled beef and they're not going to throw MSG in. All right. A couple more points about this movie.
All right.
Before we get out of hand here. Number one, I can't read this. So let's just skip it. Number two.
Those are my favorite.
Let's talk about the riot scene, all right?
Yeah.
There are riot shields. There are villagers with Molotov cocktail things. And Tim Minchin lights a wall of fire with some sort of special distilled flammable alcohol solution.
Yeah. Which they make a big deal, right? Of, Jamie Foxx knows how to do this.
Yeah.
Because he's from the more advanced society of the Moors that they always call savages.
Yeah.
And then they're like, also, Friar Tuck knows how to do it. And he can read Arabic. And it's like, what? Thanks for your help, dude.
Yeah, sure.
Where you been the whole time?
We get the wall of fire. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And here's what happens. The villagers have the riot police backed up to the wall of fire. Ben Mendelsohn is also backed up to the wall of fire. And Ben Mendelsohn's like, get me through this wall of fire. So
because
here's the solution.
They use the fire to drop the thing below the...
Yeah.
To build a hole with the fire.
Yeah. Here's the solution to getting through the wall of fire. You take your riot shields, you push them down, and you open up the fire like a gate using your riot shields pushing forward, and the fire will push out. It'll push out and open up.
Now,
that's how it works, right? Now, that's what the movie showed me.
Yeah, they pushed it out of the way. This is what I say to this. Because your wife brought it up, and I was like, no, they're pushing it out of the way. Here's what I contend. This would work. But The thing is, they push it out of the way, and the fire stays in front of them. And they also continue to hold their very metal shields.
Yes.
To keep the fire pushed away. And I'm like, if you step back, is the gate gonna close again? You've extinguished the fire by pushing over the source. Like, right? Like if you push something over,
perhaps.
Like if you take something and scrape over gasoline that's on fire.
But that brings me to my point. This is my point about it. And this drives me crazy in every single movie. When there's a fire,
right,
it is 100% possible, especially in this case where it's a very thin wall of fire, you could run through it and you'd be fine if you were fast.
Oh yeah.
Why don't they do? No one ever does it in any movie. They're always like, oh no, there's a little fire. I can't, there's no, all right. What am I got to go around? You're like, no, just run through. Like, why do you think people can walk on coals? You just got to zip on through. If you zip through, you'll be fine. It takes a second for something to catch on fire, right? Yeah. It's not like, oh, I can see the whole thing's on fire. It's like, nope, it's a very thin wall of fire.
It's going to be hot, and you might see
I've
been engulfed in fire before.
It's like the axe flamethrower situation. We've all had class get out of hand, all right? In middle school, I was not part of this band class, but I know my band class in middle school, they had a substitute teacher, so they took advantage. And this is where I grew up. They were spraying axe onto like the wooden cabinets, and lighting it on fire because it just burns up the axe really quickly, and the cabinet doesn't light on fire.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is, in this situation where there's basically an axe flamethrower going upwards, if you ran right through it, you're not going to get lit on fire. It's not that level of fire.
You might get lit on fire, but you're going to be
you could also roll around and you'd be fine. That's what I'm saying. You just got to run through it, roll around, and you're out.
Yeah. I mean, I've said before, I'm not going to say whose fault it was, but a drum, a burn barrel, as it were, was filled with flammable materials, and then an enormous amount of lighter fluid was poured on top of that. Uh-huh. Somebody was called stupid and told not to light it the way they were going to, and then the other person, my brother, lit it on fire, which created an explosion and engulfed us both in flame.
And?
I'm fine. I lost all of the hair on my left arm.
Yeah.
Every single hair on my left arm. Other than that, we were both fine.
See? Ben Mendelsohn, he might have been missing some eyebrows, but he would have got through the fire.
That would have been funny. That would have been really funny.
Let's talk about the next scene if we didn't have eyebrows. The next scene, he's got Jamie Foxx tied up, and he's like, gonna beat the answers out of you. You're gonna tell me what you know. He also threatens to boil him in his own piss.
That was Edgerton. He was going to do that too. Oh, did you hear what I said when he said?
You say?
I was like, that would take so long to collect that much. You're going to have to keep him in prison, pumping water into him for like a month to get
how are you going to collect that?
To get a huge thing full.
You going to hook up a catheter or something? Like what?
Yeah, because you got to collect it. There's got to be a level of cooperation.
Now imagine him saying all that, no eyebrows.
Yeah.
Are you mad right now? I can't tell. Your words are scary. But there's a lack of expression around your eyes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Because Robin Hood, he gets caught because he does the heroic thing, right?
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like all the riot stuff, though, was supposed to be, like, modeled after, like, riots in the U.S. that were probably happening right around the time that they were writing it or something.
Yeah.
And then it came out and it's like, and Hong Kong's got riots. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, no.
Same stuff.
It was not very fortunate.
They've even got the masks, which made it worse because I was like, they would all do that, you know? In the
Hong, they cover up your face.
Yeah. And so I was like, you guys really just...
stepped in it.
You really just you're like, you know, it's like, you know, you got your fancy crossbow and you did put it all together and you're cleaning it and you're loading it. You're like... And you shot yourself in the foot, you know? You just really did it.
All right. Do you? What else do you have to say about this movie? I just have 2 more points to make.
You tell me.
All right. First point, if I spied correctly, if my little eye spied correctly in the credits, Did it not say Leonardo DiCaprio produced this movie?
I think I have seen that before.
What is that?
Let me check.
Whenever like a major actor produces a movie, it blows my mind. Where I'm like, oh, you threw your name on this. And sometimes it's like, oh, Tom Hanks does it a lot. You're like, you guys really tried hard on this movie.
Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio.
But Leonardo DiCaprio producing this movie?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
In what way? How involved? And I take it he probably just fronted some money, right? Like he's not...
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway.
PGA means something, doesn't it?
Producers Guild of America, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Means you're part of the guild.
Never
you're
mind.
in the in crowd. You're with the cool kids.
So that might just mean...
You've paid union dues to be in the guild. That's what that means.
It might just mean he's, said yes, fund it for... Because who made it? It was a Lionsgate movie?
I don't know.
Or Legendary? Lionsgate.
I don't know. Probably Lionsgate. Here's my final point.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy the little twist ending. So the movie ends, and it's like, we did it. We took all the money. Ben Mendelsohn was going to team up with the Archduke and overthrow King Richard and blah, blah, blah. And we took their funds, so they can't do it. We won the day. And then, as they're all leaving to go to Sherwood Forest. So
that's in every
Sherwood
version.
Forest, and it's like, oh, now they're kind of the merry men, and they did it. They saved the day.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's cut forward to 2 weeks in the future. Ben Mendelsohn's dead. So, I don't know. The Cardinal is somehow still around, even though they had all the evidence to condemn him by King Richard.
Yeah.
And he's not only is he still around, he's promoted Will to be the sheriff of Nottingham. And as the final thing in the movie, he's going to be like, get Robin Hood. Then Robin Hood is going to shoot the wanted poster and be like, nah. End of movie.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well,
Google.
Oh, it really felt like the same kind of thing as the ending of Dracula Untold, where they're like, throw something on there just in case.
We got to do the
sequel,
make a second. Or it's an origin story, but it's not. And we're queuing up a sequel. So can you do all that in 20 seconds? Like, yeah. What?
Because he makes the little joke about welcome to the big table because he told Ben Mendelsohn he wanted to be at the big table.
Yeah.
But that was never said to or heard from Will Scarlet.
So what on
so
earth?
It was nothing. I don't know about
why that scene. I thought we thwarted the Cardinal. Right?
No, here's the thing, Cody. Their whole plan was to steal the money.
Arabic papers that show probably that maybe he did something wrong. They took all the money that they needed. What was the money for? Buy an army or something? Or
they've been funding the armies. Like they've been funding the Moors. They've been giving them more money.
I get it. More money.
So that's how they've been fighting the Crusaders, is they've been getting the money from Nottingham, which you would think you would notice. So
they're sending out Crusaders from the hometown while simultaneously funding the Moors, and they're going to overthrow King Richard, and then it's going to be the Cardinal and the Sheriff in charge of England now? That was their plan?
Well, because the Sheriff, I think he's only called the Sheriff because they're like, yeah, Sheriff. He's the Sheriff of Nottingham. But really, he's like, in any other movie, they would have made him Prince John or like the Duke of the city.
Okay.
But the point is, Cody, what you don't get is they stole the money. Their plan was to steal the money, show the papers, revolt. They stole the money. Now they can't show the papers. That's ridiculous because they're outlaws. You could argue the papers got burned up in the fire, except for the fact that Friar Tuck translates them after the fire. Point is, there's no, I don't.
Yeah,
it's like they were like,
end. After everything they set up, they were kind of like, anyway, we're back here again, and look, he's Robin Hood officially. Get it? So whatever. It's fine. I hated it.
It's like they did that ending because they're like, well, what if we want to make another one? He can't win this time when it would have been a better ending if he had just been like, we won.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, you're right. It would have been a much better ending, and I would have been happier with the movie. Still wasn't happy with the movie. Still wouldn't recommend it. There's one thing we did not talk about, and that is that we have to, as we're getting to the end of this, we have to talk about the mines and the the set design of the village.
Jets of fire.
So the village is set up a la Mordor or the Tower of Isengard, where it's like black everywhere and fire and the gears of war. And what is happening? They also semi-designed it after like Brazil. You know how like there's like all the big hills and there'd be like kind of colorful little villages stacked everywhere?
Yeah.
It was like that, but Mordor.
Yeah.
What were they mining for? And what?
So,
why the jets of fire everywhere? A la Mordor.
They're refining the metal?
Mining for what?
Metal.
Those soldiers didn't use metal for anything but tips of arrows.
Their bolts were metal, I think. I think that's what I think they were supposed to be.
They didn't wear
metal
metal armor. They're running around in dirty rags, military grade Kevlar vests. I don't know.
The town guards wore metal armor. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the town. What were they? They were just like the mines. Everyone lives in the mines now. Everyone's dirty. Everything's black. Fire is everywhere.
Yeah. It's like they've driven everyone out of the city. They all live in the mines now. I'm like, so you evicted everyone from the city because they couldn't pay, and now they live in the mines. But you established earlier that there's like little suburb villages around. Where did everyone live before? Because the city's still full of people.
You're asking the questions I wish I had the answer to. So, anyway, just wanted to address the jets of fire.
That's what Will is. He's in charge of the mines. But the thing I wanted to address is the fact that Robin's like, hey, where's Will? You know, the leader of the peasants. The guy that we were like, I said in front of everybody, this doesn't happen without you. He's supposed to be right here. Where is he? And Marion, with zero hesitation, is like, he's dead already. Leave him behind.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to go find him. Which is like, she was so ready to abandon this guy.
That's what she did to Robin of Locksley. She's like, oh, he's dead? All right. Will, let's shack up.
Yeah. But he was gone for years, dead for 2.
Dead for 2 years. Him being gone for years is not an excuse.
He was gone
Him being
for 4
presumed
years.
dead for 2 years is something at least, but...
Yeah. Which the funniest thing was when he said... One of the funny things was when he said, you said you'd wait for me. And she did not in any way respond with, you were dead. We had a funeral. It was a year and a half before I met Will. We've only been going out for 6 months. I'll abandon him in a puddle of fire and his own blood if I have to.
Yeah.
Which she was prepared to do.
Jamie Foxx said no. Whatever. I didn't love the movie. I will never watch it again if I have the choice. But if someone made a supercut of the arrow shooting scenes, I would probably watch that.
Oh, so cool. All the combat with the arrows. So cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else to say?
No, but yes. It's just so weird. Why do they have full face masks? Why were they contoured to their faces instead of just helmets? There's so many questions. None of them have answers. Who designed their crossbows?
John Wick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, don't watch this movie, but do share and review our podcast.
Now, wait.
No.
I think if you're having a bad movie competition with your friends, then watch the movie.
Yeah.
You'll win.
It's a head scratcher. Yeah, no, you're right. And, you can tweet me at OpinionAvers, and you can find us on Facebook at OpinionAvers. We'd be happy for you to recommend movies, so I have to do less of these, you know?
Oh, you'll have so many, Cody. Oh, and then,
Are you gonna spin the wheel?
I'm going to spin the wheel. Here, let me get it. Oh, don't kick the table.
Sorry. I didn't
You're
know.
so upset about all of this that you're kicking things.
I'm mad.
I'm pulling up the machine, Cody.
Pull up the machine.
Do the thing. Woo!
What? What's
Pacific Rim is the next
Oh
one.
my goodness. I got some history with that movie.
There are 2 films in Pacific Rim, right? I will not subject you to Atlantic Rim.
Okay. What?
I will make you watch the trailer, though.
Okay.
So Pacific Rim is the next.
Ugh. All right.
Tyler's Trash.
Pacific Rim's next up. Thanks for listening. Until next time, watch movies.
And have opinions.
I got stories about Pacific Rim, let me tell you. I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's so good.
I am ready to watch with my surround sound up.
Oh, yeah.